Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Shelton, and this week we are going to be creating a project called the Aztec Sun project. And some of the supplies that you are going to need for this project are, if you happen to have a coffee filter, they come in a package like this. You can ask your parents if they have some. And then what you would do is it comes in this little container like this, and it's kind of bunched up, and then we would just smooth it out. Now, if you do not have a coffee filter, that's okay. You can just use a regular piece of paper like this, paper that we've been using, like a piece of copy paper, and you can cut a circle out, which is what I did for this paper. So you would just simply cut a circle out. You may want to trace a circle so you get it big enough. You want it to be pretty big, like the size of a plate, a small plate. So you would just have a piece like that. So you can either use a coffee filter or a piece of circle paper, whichever you have. Okay? The next thing you're going to do is, if you have a coffee filter, you're only going to do this with the coffee filter, not the paper. If you have a coffee filter, you're going to use markers. You're gonna make sure that the markers are watercolor markers or markers that are washable. Okay? If you use a Sharpie, this will not work with a marker like this. So if you have these markers, these Sharpie markers, this will not work. Okay, what I'm about to show you. You have to use the watercolor markers or some sort of washable marker. Okay, you're going to get the markers out. You're going to color your coffee filter. So if you have the coffee filter, you're going to color it with all these different colors. It doesn't matter what kind of pattern you do. You can do stripes, you can do swirls. I kind of made mine go in a circle. When you are done, you're going to use a tiny bit of water. You're going to use a paintbrush, and you're going to paint it with the water. When you paint it with the water, the colors will run. So then your paper will look like this.
Whoa, that's so cool!
Okay, you need a tiny bit of water. This one has now been painted with water and it's been dried. So it will go from this to something like this. Okay, so now if you don't have a coffee filter, which if your family doesn't drink coffee or they don't use this kind of filter on their coffee pot, you won't have those. Okay, you're going to use a piece of paper. Don't color your paper yet, okay, because it doesn't work as well with this type of paper. You can do it with this paper. You can color it with all the different colors like this, and you can paint it and you can let it dry. You will get a similar effect, but not the same exact effect. Okay, you can give it a try. If you don't have markers, you can just use your paper white. It's up to you. Okay, so we're going to create a sun that is kind of like this. I have this piece of artwork here. It's made out of clay. It has this big, beautiful face. The only colors on this are yellow and a little bit of red and blue and a little bit of orange. We're gonna make ours much brighter and bolder. This sun actually came from Guatemala. So I do a lot of mission work where my family and I travel to Guatemala, and we got this beautiful piece of pottery in Guatemala with this cool sun face on it. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of set this aside, and you are going to start by using your circle paper, whether it be the coffee filter or just the regular paper, and you have it all beautiful bold colors if you have markers. If you don't, you're just going to use a plain white paper. The next thing you are going to need, and I'm actually going to put a piece of paper under this. You don't have to. That's just so it doesn't leak through onto my tablecloth, okay, because I'm going to use a black marker next. You need something that is circle shaped. This is going to be your tracer. If you have a bowl in your house, this is just a bowl out of my cupboard, a bowl that we eat cereal in, that we have soup in, whatever. I also went into my recycle bin, which remember I told you guys to kind of have a little recycle bin that you keep in your art studio or in your art space so that you can kind of go and grab supplies from that. This is a top from Sour Cream. I can use this for a lot of different things. Today, I'm going to use it for my circle tracer. So I'm gonna put it in the middle. Now, if you have a bowl, you would just flip your bowl over and put your bowl in the middle. But you'd wanna make sure that the same space is all the way around. Okay, so you can use the bowl or you can use the top. At school, we use the top because I have a ton of these that I just save. So I'm gonna put that in the middle. Okay, I'm gonna take my marker. You can use any kind of marker, pen, pencil, whatever you have. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to trace around my circle. When I lift this up, I have the circle in the middle. Okay, and I can still see the bright, beautiful colors, but I'm using a darker color marker so it shows up better on here and you can see my details. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make mine slightly different than this. I'm going to exaggerate or make my details really big, larger than realistic, larger than what we used on our self-portrait last week. We want things to be really big, bold, and stand out. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to start with my eyes. Okay, and I'm going to go like this for one eye, two eyes, and I'm going to make a great big circle in the middle. Okay, so Carson, if you can get on top here so that they can see a little better. Great, bud. Okay, my son is filming me today, so he's helping me out so you guys can see better. I like to add this little spiral on the side of the eyes like this. And I'm also going to add eyelashes. You do not have to add eyelashes if you don't want to. I'm just adding an extra little detail. If you look at this one doesn't have eyelashes. You can also add another little circle in the middle if you want. You can get as creative as you'd like, okay? I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna make a few little lines on my forehead like this. Okay, after you add the little wrinkles on the forehead, you can go ahead and you can add a nose. And I'm gonna add a nose kind of like I did last week, a great big nose where my line comes down like this and my line comes down like this. So I have two lines. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna make 1, 2, 3 bumps. If you look at this one over here, it's more of like a realistic nose, and this one's actually raised off of the clay. It's really cool. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we are going to add the lips. And the best way to add the lips is to add a straight line like this. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add a bump on the top. And I'm gonna add a bump on the bottom. And I also like to add this curly line like this. Okay, so I have big eyes, big nose, big exaggerated lips on here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add my sun rays. They're gonna be a little bit different than this one, and I'm gonna actually add more details. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start adding the sun rays around the outside. And all they are is just a simple triangle. The bottom part of the triangle, you're not gonna draw. So it's kind of like an upside down V, and then the circle acts as the bottom of the triangle. So I'm gonna go out, and I'm gonna bring it all the way to the edge, and I'm gonna bring it in. And what I like to do is I turn the paper as I go, so that they're equal, or the same, all the way around. So instead of me trying to make my hand go all the way around, I'm turning the paper towards me. Okay, Turn again. Turn again. Okay. And as I get around to the top, see, this is why I put something under here, because especially if you're using a permanent marker, because it leaks through, came through onto this paper. So that's kind of like my little protection so that it's not getting on my tablecloth that I'm using. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add a little bit more detail in here. And I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna make tiny triangles inside the big ones. It's easier for me to go around now because I already have my guideline of my big ones made. Now another thing that I like to add is, if you notice on this one, they have like some little circles kind of in between. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna add some little circles. You can add as much detail as you want. The only thing I would say is you don't wanna get too crazy with your detail, because pretty soon it gets so busy that you don't want to lose the detail of the face. Okay, so I went ahead and I added that. Now, if you would like, you could maybe add something to the cheeks if you want, but whatever you add to the cheeks, I would maybe keep pretty simple, okay? I'm always a big fan of the spiral or the swirl like that, so I may add that. Okay, you can do it however you want. Get super creative, and remember, you can be creative with your supplies. You don't have to have these specific supplies. These are just suggestions. So these type of markers are a suggestion. If you don't have them, you can use this white piece of paper. You can paint the paper if you have paints. If you don't have paints, you can go ahead and you can color it with the markers, paint it with the water, and then allow it to dry. You would just do the same thing like I did here. You would start, you'd find a circle tracer, put it in the middle, go around like that, and then you would draw your parts from there. The other option is you can draw all your parts onto this paper, which I can quickly do for you, and then you can go back in and you can color it, okay? So I could go ahead, I could add my eyes with my marker. I mean, I could even do different eyes. I could maybe do little lines like this. I would still maybe put these, if I wanted to make it a little different like this. I could do a square nose like that. I could even make my lips slightly different if I wanted to. You can be, like I said, as creative as you want. You're gonna go ahead and add your sun rays again. Remember to turn your paper with you. I'll be excited to see what kind of fun details you guys come up with. Last week I had lots of people that shared their projects on the Google form for me. Remember, when sharing on the Google form, try your best to add a photo of what you've created, and that way I can see all the different types of projects coming in, and then I will send you a message back and let you know what I think. Go ahead, add some more details. Now, if it's like this, you can also go ahead and color in after you've drawn all these parts. So I'm not going to draw the whole thing in, but I mean color the whole thing in just for video purposes, but I'm going to show you how you could go ahead and you could just color it in with markers, crayons, colored pencils, whatever you have. So now it's kind of like a page out of a coloring book where you just kind of fill things in. Like I said, if you have markers, if you have colored pencils, if you have crayons, you can use whatever type of supplies you have. So here's the finished project. Here is how you could finish the project using these supplies, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to color this whole project in. And good luck. Don't forget to submit it on the Google form and try your best to add a picture. Okay? If you're not sure how to add a picture, maybe ask for grown-up help. Good luck, guys.